Hello and welcome to the second episode of Comic Covers. So, last time we did X-Men. X-Men was kind of rough, but I don't just want to talk about comics that I don't like. I want to talk about comics that I think are good. So this is one that I think is pretty good. It's the original beginnings of Spider-Man. This is the very first thing, because I figured last time I did something shit from the Silver Age. I was waiting for it to go over 30 seconds. I can get away with it then. So yeah, we covered something a bit shit from the Silver Age, and that wasn't very good. So I want to cover something that I think works this time. So a little bit of background is that this was I think it's like 62. This is like really early in Marvel. And what happened was, Spider-Man originally debuted in Amazing Fantasy 15, right? I think most people know that. So, what a lot of people don't realize is that Amazing Fantasy wasn't like a Spider-Man thing. It was an anthology. A lot of what old Marvel comics were these anthologies. They would have separate stories in each of them. There was like Tales of Suspense, Astonishing Tales. I think there was like Strange Tales, Miles Tales Per Hour. There was a lot of tales, a lot of stories being spun. A lot of them were a bit shit. That's why a lot of like Marvel heroes don't actually debut in like, oh, Iron Man 1? No, Tales of Suspense. Ant-Man 1? No, fucking Astonishing Tales. Which is why it's kind of funny when you look at their first issues. It's just like, you know who these fucking guys are. Like, this is Thor, he's fighting Hercules. Like, who the fuck are these people? Because you didn't read like Astonishing Tales of Amazement number 82, because these things had so many fucking issues. So Amazing Fantasy was actually kind of like a bit shit. They even mention in like this thing that actually rarely collects the entire thing, where they just say, yeah, we are not going to be doing Amazing that much longer. We're going to be doing Amazing Spider-Man. That's actually why he's called Amazing Spider-Man, because he was born from Amazing Fantasy. So literally what it was just Spider-Man. They were just like, hey, let's just make a fucking hero. This was Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. They made a hero. Let's just see how he does. You know, people might like him. People fucking loved him. They even mention in like some of the early issues of Spider-Man, like, yeah, you guys love this, and we don't know what to do. Like, this is basically like it's kind of hard to realize just how big Spider-Man like was for Marvel. Because I know we know now, like, oh yeah, Spider-Man, yeah, he's fucking huge. But like back then, it really just was Spider-Man. Like really gave him a bit of a kick up the ass, because while they were there, they were never beating DC beforehand. You know, like DC, they had Batman, they had Superman. Who the fuck did Marvel have? Because they just had a bunch of shitty anthologies no one really liked. So yeah, we get Spider-Man, we get Amazing Fantasy 15, and we're going to be looking at that and the first issue of Amazing. We're going to be looking at why I think this worked, like, compared to something like X-Men. So it starts out, and the first thing is they're talking about is Peter Parker fucking sucks. It's kind of funny reading these like really early issues, and it's just like everyone thinks he's just the fucking worst. Everyone hates Peter Parker, which is really funny because he's just this like shy, introverted kid. Maybe he was different in the '60s, but nowadays no one really think anything of him. And that's what you see in some of them on one interpretation. It's just like, yeah, it's sort of like the Flash. No one really gives a shit. I was just kind of like, dude. Like, even in a lot of other adaptations, people are just like, Flash, what is your problem with this guy? He's just like some dweeb. So it starts out, and we get a little, you know, time lapse of how much everyone fucking hates this guy. So he tells he's a scientist, and he asks out some random girl, and apparently she says, for the umpteenth time, you're just not my type. I don't like that, Peter. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who just keeps asking. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good at all. We get to see Flash Thompson with his big T sweater, which is just really funny to me. Because it's not even his first name, it's his last name. There's something about wearing like a bit of clothing with your last name on it is just weirdly funny to me. I don't know if that's just me. So he goes to a science exhibit, and, you know, he's the only one who goes. He's nerd, you know? He's not like everyone else. And they're doing, like, this, like, kind of radioactive experiment, and somehow no one sees a spider get in there. I feel like, considering they're doing an active experiment in between these two spheres where the spider goes between. I feel like people would probably like notice that, right? So yeah, it bites him, and he's like, ah, jeez, it really hurts. And even the random old guys at the science fucking exhibit thing are just like, what a bitch. Look at Peter Parker over there. They know his name somehow. He's like, what a little fucking dweeb. He can't even handle a bit of radiation. So, what happens is he's just walking through the street and almost gets hit by a car. And the fucking guys in the car are like, that egghead will think twice before he... No, the swing line is, that was one egghead who won't daydream anymore when he crosses a street. Why is everyone in Marvel so fucking mean? And then, like, Peter Parker jumps up, he's like, whoa, I can like, jump really high, I can climb up a wall. And, like, there's this kid who's like, wow, there's a man climbing up. And, like, his mum scolds him, and it's like, why is everyone so fucking mean? Everyone's the fucking worst here, and hate to live in Marvel. It'd just be like, hey, how you doing? Okay, great. You, like, ask someone for direction, and they just, like, punch you for, like, being an asshole. Yeah, so he's like, whoa, with these amazing powers. It's like, I'm a spider. And he mentions a web, which, you know, ooh, web, ooh, because he's got the webs. So eventually what happens is he's just like walking somewhere and like he just happens across like a wrestling ring. But like he was just on my way home from a science exhibit, so I don't know why he's like past what seems to be a fairly seedy place. It's just don't question it, you know, Peter Parker, you know, that's why people don't like him. Because it's like, yeah, he says these things like he's a scientist, but like only the time we ever see him is like down the fucking wrestling. It's really weird. So yeah, he puts on like he literally just like puts on like a jumper and like a fishnet. He just puts on a fishnet over his head, and he goes to fight Crusher Hogan, not Bonesaw, which sucks because I love Bonesaw. Because I used to think of Bonesaw is ready. I love the Raimi movies. They're just so magical. So he like tries fighting Crush Hogan and completely dominates him. And he's like, it works. I have the strength, the speed, the agility, and the very strength of a gigantic spider. He's a Spider-Man. And you know he basically just beats the shit out of like Crush Hogan, and they give him money to be on the Ed Sullivan Show. All I know about that is that's where the Beatles performed live or something for the first time, you know. And he's very clearly just, like, making a costume as, like, Aunt May and Uncle Ben walk in. And it's just really funny just imagine, like, what the fuck's he doing, Ben? I don't know, May. He's just working on stuff. Like, it's very clearly in plain sight. You can see there. Like, they can see. They can see. So, this is what he said, and this is kind of funny to me. He says, this spider needs a little web, and this device should do just the trick. I'll fasten one to each arm. It'll operate by the slightest pressure of any finger. What? That's something I think is really interesting, is that, like, because what they've done, I don't think it's ever been said, this might just be one of those things, everyone had cannons, but I believe they say that, oh yeah, the web shooters are really strong. So that way everyone else just thinks, oh, it's just like a weird watch wrist thing. Like, and it uses his own strength to, like, do that. But no, he's literally just, like, firing off webs. And they also say that the webs have, like, liquid cement, which is really weird. Like, he's just firing cement at guys. That's not coming out. So, yeah, he's on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he does such amazing things as fire a web at a candle. He just goes on a candle. And this is the kind of thing that makes people go like, holy shit. Maybe things were different in the 60s, but like, this is not impressive. He's climbing on walls, that's impressive. And he's just putting out a fucking like web. Like he isn't even like, okay, he does use a web to go up a wall, but he didn't do that on the show. They just show him like declining from one. So what happens is, you know, he's after the Ed Sullivan Show. He's just like, yeah, and screw you guys. You know, my agent, go talk to him. And a thief runs past, and he doesn't stop him. And the cop's like, the fuck is wrong with you bastard? Why did you stick your neck out? And he's just like, and what he says is like, I'm through being pushed around. I'm just looking forward for me. And, you know, he gets a little microscope from his parents, and that's not his parents, his aunt and uncle, and not his parents, even though they effectively are. And then Spider-Man just blows up, you know, his candle trick. People just can't get enough. People just think this is the coolest shit. Like, they show he's, like, firing a web at a wall, and, like, a woman's holding it, and it's, like, sticking what seems to be, like, an apple or something to it. That it's, like, what is it? Would people really be that impressed by this? Like, was the 60s just that boring? So, what happens is a police car happens, and a guy who looks suspiciously similar to the other policeman, only he has a really big mustache, goes like, "Ah, your uncle's been shot and murdered." And I love this really funny moment where it's like, "Oh, it's a burglar. He's in the old Acme warehouse." And Peter's like, I've got to go get him. And he's, this fucking, like, policeman just be like, what are you doing? So yeah, well, so why would he tell him he's at the old Acme warehouse? Is this fucking criminal, like Wile E. Coyote or something like that? So yeah, Peter Parker changes into the Spider-Man costume. He swings across town, and bear in mind, he knows where the warehouse is, which only adds to my theory that no one likes Peter Parker because he's just fucking weird and creepy. It's like, all we ever see you go around is science, seedy wrestling rings, and, like, old warehouses, Peter. This is why we never hang out with you. You know, Flash Thompson, you know, we hang out at his house. You know, we have a bit of root beer. You know, we have a little bit of fun. All you do is take us to random fucking warehouses on the waterfront. Fuck you. So they do the thing where he, like, beats the crap out of, like, the criminal, and it's like, oh my god, it's the guy. Oh, I could have stopped. And, you know, it's the moment where it's like, oh, if only I had the great responsibility that comes with great power. And you can see here in the issue, in the panel, the mask has eye holes, which is horrifying. I don't think they ever show that again. And I think they realized, like, this just doesn't look good. Because, like, what everything afterwards has done is just, oh, it's like a lens. It's like a lens kind of thing. But no, instead here, I believe the implication is that that's, like, just, like, how he sees. Which is also really funny because the holes are so tiny, he's not seeing shit. It's like, hey, is that criminal? I can't tell. And they never actually say in the story, with great power comes great responsibility. That's the narrator that says it's a legend that it's what Peter learns of the legend of Spider-Man. He learns that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Then we go to a fucking bell. So there's a bell ringing, some weird biblical thing. Then a man goes into a mummy case, and he goes to ancient Egypt, and this feels like a Top Gear bit. Tonight, Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man. A man rings a bell. And another man goes inside a sarcophagus. Also Among Us. This is like the other shit you would just get in Amazing Fantasy. It would just be like random fucking stories that are like maybe kind of interesting, but they just aren't. So yeah, like whatever. Amazing Fantasy. It didn't last long after Spider-Man completely usurped it. So let me get to the first issue, and this is something that a lot of older comics did that was quite interesting. They would have multiple stories in one issue, which imagine getting that nowadays. When you get a single issue, it's like part 1 of 6, and it's not a complete story. Oh, I love modern comics. Ugh. So yeah, this one would feature 2, and the reason why they did this was basically just so they could make the kids think they were getting more bang for their buck. It wasn't the big thing they did, but it happened enough to, like, be a noticeable thing. They do that a lot in Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man has a lot of that. So they immediately tell us, like, whoa, Spider-Man's amazing. And we get a little recap of how much his life sucks. And so what happens is, it's, like, almost immediately after the original. Like, it's literally implied that this is the day his uncle's been shot. And immediately someone's like, oh, you gotta pay us our rent. And, like, you know, Army is like, oh, I'll pay you next week. And I just like imagining that just these guys just like, some old woman died. Like, some old man died. Aunt May, she's fucking loaded and she is stupid. Let's go fucking mug her. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna take money as Spider-Man. And there is something really funny in old Spider-Man where he's constantly just thinking to himself, I'm gonna be a criminal, I'm gonna just steal. I'm gonna steal money, I'm gonna steal food. No, I can't, because that's fucking wrong. And it's just funny because it's constant. It's not like once, twice, no, it's constant. He's just like, I should just I should just do crime. It just seems easier than this shit I've got doing. But he doesn't. Like, there's just something so funny about how he's never, like, considering quitting Spider-Man. He's just considering crime. Like, he isn't even considering, like, maybe these powers, I can just let them rest. Like, that's the often thing you have nowadays. But no, literally, I should just be a menace. So what happens is Spider-Man's gonna be at the local show hall, and they're all like, oh, Pete, you're fucking lame, you aren't coming. And it's like, only they knew. So what happens is he's like swinging around, and he's like, hey, can you like give me money for like doing this? Oh, I gotta do you a check for the tax records. It's like, oh, just make the check out to Spider-Man. And the poor guy's like, you're not gonna get anything that way. Oh, just do it. Fucking sure, dude. And then he walks over to the bank and it's just like, hey, I'd like to cash this. Do you have any identification? No, but I got the costume. Like, you can tell this is like, he's like 15 when he's doing this, and that is the most 15-year-old shit I've ever seen. He's like, I've got like the fucking costume, don't know me. And going in there, I want money. Oh, I can't get any because you're just seeing a fucking costume. And we actually get J. Jonah Jameson, which is interesting because the first characters of the supporting cast we see, it's not Harry Osborn, it's not Gwen Stacy, it's not MJ, it's Flash Thompson and J. Jonah Jameson. aka the two people who are dedicated to making Peter's life miserable. That's not a new thing, making Peter's life excessively sad. That's fairly consistent. So what he immediately does is like, oh, he's a menace, you know, he's taking a lot of own hands at one time. I don't think anyone even saw him. They just kind of saw a web hanging him up. I'm guessing they just drew conclusions. But he's a menace. We can't have this guy around town. And it's heavily implied the only reason is because his son, the astronaut, John Jameson, is the real hero. Which is really funny because it just makes it like more modern interpretations have done something of, oh, like J. Jonah Jameson really hates like the idea of vigilantism, the idea of people being able to just do as they want because they wear a mask, which makes a lot more sense. This is just that Spider-Man. He's stealing screen time from my son. I can't have that. And even it's showed multiple times in Stan Lee that like John is just like, the fuck is wrong with you, Dad? He's like a nice guy. He's saved my life multiple times. Just fucking give it a rest. No, I can't. It's just alright. Yeah, and I think it's amazing that immediately they already have the Spider-Man the Menace thing. Like, they just had that on the dot, and that's just never gone away because it just works. I like Jameson a lot, even if he's very cartoonish here. And yeah, immediately everyone's like, wow, Spider-Man's the fucking worst. He's awful. We've got to kill him. We've got to get this guy. Like, and I even say that, like, the FBI is getting involved. And it's like, if you know anyone, go to the FBI and fucking tell them about Spider-Man. It's like, what did he do? Like, why did he do this to anyone else? He, like, stopped one criminal and was on the Ed Sullivan Show putting out candles. And that's enough for the entire public to be like, Jesus Christ, this guy's a menace! So, what happens is Peter Parker's, like, going to, John Jameson, and he's about to take flight in like a space shuttle. Because it's, like, the space race, you know? That's, aka the, shitty second arms race of the Cold War. There are many arms races in the Cold War. So, you know, the capsule that he's inside goes off perfectly, and then, like, immediately, like, something, like, breaks off, and I never noticed it. They actually did draw a little tiny thing breaking off of it. That's actually a really neat detail. Because of the old Marvel method of the artist would draw everything, and then Stan Lee would just fill shit in, there's a lot of moments where it's just like that wasn't the original plot. Like, there's just so, like, my favorite one is in Old Avengers, where it's just constantly, I'm gonna take a pill! Like, Ant-Man is always taking pills, but you never see them for, like, 10 issues, and it's just like, Stan, you were just making this up, weren't you? You never fucking told, like, Jack Kirby about this. That's one thing I personally feel, because this and Doctor Strange was done by Steve Ditko, and a lot of the other older stuff was done by Jack Kirby. And I personally think that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee had a little bit more of like a cooperative. Because there's just a bit of flow, I think is the best way I can describe it. It feels like sometimes Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are kind of just like making stuff up. Like there's a few moments where it will just be Jack Kirby will draw something really weird and be like, Stan, figure out a context for this. And then there are times where like Stan would just be like, oh Jack, you fucking moron, the fuck did you just draw this time? And he'll just write some random shit that has nothing to do with it. So somehow, even though he was just at like the launch site, Spider-Man has overheard that, oh no, the capsule's going out of control. Which I don't understand, because they say it's like miles away from where the launch site was. So I'm guessing he just has like Superman hearing. Is he always listening out for MJ's heartbeat so he doesn't die and he goes mad? Because Injustice is a great story. I love Injustice. It has such a good positive effect on the overall Marvel universe. Oh, I don't have it. I had to have my PS3 games over here because I don't have enough space in my drawers. I had Injustice there earlier. I'm not going to dig for it now, but I was just going to hold it up. I got it for £1.50. So yeah, Spider-Man's like, there's only one guy who can save it. And he swings in and he's just like, oh, I'll have the missing unit. I'll get to the capsule. And he just holds, like, what looks just like a little plug. Which, that's how you can tell this is Steve Ditko, not Jack Kirby. If he had a little missing control panel and it was drawing Jack Kirby, there would be like panels just dedicated just to that. Because Jack Kirby really, really loved weird shit backgrounds and weird shit technology. Like, there are some really cool times in early Fantastic Four where you'll see, like, he'll use real photos alongside drawn images to create this insane otherworldly technology into one of my favorite techniques of his. So he's like, I'm gonna go grab the capsule. I'm gonna go save it. He then takes down a soldier once he raids a military base and coerces a pilot into taking him up to the capsule. I think he is a menace. I think Jonah Jameson's onto something. So he jumps onto the capsule, and again, even though there are close-ups, they never do the eye thing again. So I think even they knew, like, it's fucking weird. And funny enough, the story is split into parts, aka just scene transitions. Anytime it's a new scene, it's also a new part, which is really weird. And again, I think that's the very blatant example of they want to make this book seem so much bigger than it is. Like, oh yeah, there's like 6 parts in this. No, there's not. There's 2. So he grabs onto the capsule, and he just kind of twists it back into place and just, like, leaves with, like, the capsule's parachutes. Which, like, I don't know why there's just something funny to me about that. I was just like, you just twist it back on. No soldering, no fucking wires. You just done. And he like jumps out right as the capsule lands, and the headline here is, "This newspaper demands that Spider-Man be arrested and prosecuted." That is not a headline. That is just like a statement. It's nothing like Daily Bugle demands retribution for Spider-Man. Anything like that. No, it's like a whole sentence. Yeah, and this is where they literally say, like, oh, he, like, raided a fucking military base and, like, forced a pilot to drive him. He's a fucking menace. And yeah, all the evidence points towards that being the case. Especially with his internal dialogue. Peter Parker's internal dialogue is always, they're gonna fucking pay. They're gonna fucking pay for getting me so shit. They treat me like an asshole. They treat me horrible. I'm gonna get him. Once I get money, I'm gonna get him. It's not so noticeable in the early ones, but during, like, the later high school portion of the Steve Ditko run, it is just constant. Like, they're gonna pay. I'm gonna fucking get Flash Thompson one day. I'm gonna get him. It's really weird, but it's also really funny. Because, like, it's kind of been the thing nowadays where, like, Pete, he's like the annoying but lovable old, like, young brother. It's like he's really annoying, but you don't know what you do about him. Like, he's just a good kid. Old Peter Parker's a horrible person. He's just constantly like, I'm gonna commit a crime, and those people at school are gonna hide. They're gonna pay for what they've done to me all these years. Like, Peter, stop. You're being fucking terrifying. This is why no one likes you. Because all you do, they probably hear it too. I like to he like mutters all this under his breath. So it's just like, hey Pete, you want to go to like the game later? Oh no, I can't. Okay, Pete, we're gonna leave you now. So yeah, and then we get his first real villain. Oh, who's it gonna be? Dr. Octopus, iconic, legendary. Green Goblin, perhaps? You guys like the Chameleon? Yeah, the Chameleon is the first villain we see here. And funny enough, my theory is this second part was made a little bit later. Because we know the thing that, older Spider-Man had the red and black suit. And you can definitely tell that in the first issue, in the first half of it. But this second one, like, look here. Like, that is clearly meant to be a blue suit. Also, we got the Yakuza 4 over here. So my theory is this is around the time where they started experimenting with making the suit blue. Because the supposed highlights are a lot more, like, noticeable. Because it used to be the case that, because black ink was really didn't come out well, it didn't have any definition in, because color was a lot more limited in, you would use blue. You'd give it a blue sheen, and you just kind of understand it's meant to be black. But over time, it morphs into being more blue. Like there, for example, around the page, that's undeniably blue. But during early Spider-Man, you get just weird shit like this, where like it's definitely not meant to be like the blue cyanish we know now, but it doesn't really look it, does it? So I've always been really curious as to when exactly the decision to just make him blue was. Because it definitely happened. It's not just a Steve Ditko thing. Like, that was a thing, like, it happens during Ditko's run, although not to the same extent as we know later. Like, so it just does make me wonder, when was that decision made? Because, like, some of these, like, yeah, this is Steve Ditko, but it's undeniably blue. So, like, what about the Incas, maybe? I don't think these really old ones even credit the Incas. Yeah, no, they don't. It's only the script, the lettering, and the art. Dang. That's really annoying, because I maybe could be able to figure it out. But yeah, it's just one of those things I think is really interesting, at least to me. Like, those kind of behind-the-scenes changes. Like Peter Palmer living it. It's a little bit later, but there's not any of the issues we cover. But in some early, Stan Lee stuff, it's Peter Palmer. But, like, it was Peter Parker in the first issue, so it's like, what? So Peter Parker just goes like, I'm just gonna make money with the Fantastic Four. Duh. He tries to break in, and there's this really funny thing of, there's the private elevator, but it only operates by using one of the special electronic beams. How do you know this? There's just so many really funny examples of, like, in older comics where it's just like, how do these characters know this? Because is that like something they've said like in a public thing? Like they were doing some interview and like Sue Storm's like, oh, in case you want to get into our office, you can't because we have a private elevator. You need a beam. Like, what is it? Like a ring? Is it like how do they? It's really thing. It's so small, but it just makes you wonder like why is that even there? Stan, you don't need to just tell us everything. Just say, oh, it's a card. Oh, it's a key. Oh, it's just some kind of identification, not a fucking beam. So he like spins a web and he goes over, and the Fantastic Four are just like, hey, there's the fucking Spider-Man, he's getting in. And they just fight. Stan Lee really likes having heroes fight. So did Jack Kirby, but they never liked each other's ways of fighting. So there's just like, he didn't really beat up, he just kind of incapacitates the Fantastic Four. And what happens is, after like a little while, Reed's like, what are you fucking doing here, man? And he's like, finally, I get to say what the deal is. I want to become one of you. And it's like, why not say that first? Instead of just letting the who come at you, just say like, I'm not trying to break it, I'm trying to join you guys. Honestly, if he wanted to, he should just become an Avenger. Like, there's probably been less things for less. I blinked once, and I got a fucking card in my wallet saying I'm an Avenger. So yeah, they basically just say, oh yeah, we're a non-profit. And he's just like, wow, rude, fuck you guys, and leaves. And we're just like, what do you think was gonna happen with scientists? And also he says that he'll make them look like pikers, which I really don't think you can say that, Peter. So the chameleon then just appears, and he's just like in a defense installation. What is defense installation? And he just like keeps swapping masks, which is really like what? Yeah, so he just like what does he even say? He just like steals papers, and then he's just like, oh, I'm gonna frame Spider-Man because everyone fucking hates him. So there's one thing that's really interesting. Okay, first of all, the way he communicates with Spider-Man is sending him a secret message via only his spider senses. What? When has he ever mentioned having spider senses? Because this is the first time in any of these issue. The second half of the first issue, the chameleon story, is the first time they ever mentioned spider senses. And it literally just is, oh yeah, chameleon's just like using frequencies. Sure. I don't think spiders work like that. And yeah, he makes like an artificial web, which is really interesting because why does no one else ever seem to do that? Because like he's a high schooler and he's making these. Surely like some other guys, like why doesn't Iron Man just go, bro? Hey, by the way, that's actually my own web solution made with real chemicals, not whatever you get out of a high school chemistry set. So sorry, Pete, I've only run that one. I like doing Iron Man dialogue because it's just like, I don't know, Iron Man's just a funny character. I don't know why, I just can't take him seriously. Probably because of all the Jarvis memes. I love the Jarvis memes. Jarvis, or exterminate his balls. So basically what happens is that the fucking helicopter that the chameleon's in starts flying away. Right as he arrives, everyone's like, oh, Spider-Man, you stole these things. And to be fair, that makes sense. There's a lot of times Spider-Man gets framed where you just think to yourself, like, how the fuck are you guys this stupid? But this one actually made sense. The guy who was Spider-Man ran away with a chopper that somehow no one heard. And this Spider-Man just swung in there, and everyone's like, oh, dang, that must be him then. And it's not like Mysterio just being like, oh, yeah, Spider-Man's in broad daylight being a fucking terrorist. So, what happens is Peter Parker uses his spider sense to look into where the ship is and flings himself across, like, most of Manhattan from the looks of it to get to it, which is really funny. Yeah, so he goes to the submarine. He jams shut the submarine, jumps onto the helicopter, rips off the door of his bare hands and goes, "End of the line, commie!" So he literally just like lands somehow, and he grabs a chameleon who's dressed in this like crash dummy looking outfit, and it's like, here's the guy who impersonated me. And he just drops a smoke bomb and runs, and he switches into a policeman garb. And then what happened is they just like punch Chameleon, and his like clothes get ripped, and they're like, oh, he must be impersonating him. And yeah, that's how it ends. It's really abrupt. It is just, oh yeah, they actually stop the Chameleon, and then they find the Chameleon, and then they stop him, and Spider-Man goes home. So yeah, that's the issue of having two stories and only get 18 pages. You kind of have to rush them. So yeah, overall, that is the Amazing Spider-Man introduction, like Amazing Fantasy, Amazing Spider-Man. You can tell from the vibe of this thing, I think it's a much better comic because it gives us a lot about Peter. We know about who he is as a person. He's very introverted, he's very shy, he has a passion for science, and he has a lot of internal grief. Compared to the X-Men, where for the first few issues, there's just nothing beyond the surface level. Like, you read those first few issues, and you already get what his deal is. You already know why he does the things he does, you know who he is as a person, but you know there's room to grow. He's already getting stakes, and we actually can tangibly feel them. Where in X-Men 1, it's like, oh yeah, the world hates us, or something. It's like an offhand comment by, like, Xavier. Whereas in this, it's like full-on, like, the police like, you're fucking, like, the criminal, you're a menace! And, like, he's struggling to try and, like, actually, like, maintain his own heroism. And he's a constant, I'm going to be criminal. I'm going to have to commit crimes. It helps give Spider-Man, like, a lot of, like, there's relatability. There's, like, the actual, like, there's just the urge, like, you actually want to root for him. He's a very likable character, but he's also got a lot of, like, abrasive personality traits. There's a real person beneath the mask. Whereas, again, in X-Men, there's just nothing there. There's a reason why these guys... like Spider-Man, again, like, took off immediately. They literally said they had so many issues that they couldn't get any for the third issue because there were so many just from Amazing Fantasy because people just loved Spider-Man, and it makes sense. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't know what I'll go over next time. Might try and do a DC thing sometime soon. Who knows? See you guys next time. See ya.